While there's no challenger in the Bloomington mayoral race, Terre Haute voters will decide whether to re-elect Republican Mayor Duke Bennett for a fifth term or someone new, Democrat Brandon Sackbun, who has never run for office. Both are from Terre Haute. The 63-year-old Bennett has a bachelor's degree from Indiana Wesleyan University. He was uncontested in the May primary. Now, Sackbun, a 27-year-old, is a graduate of IU's Kelley School of Business and served as a U.S. Army Ranger. He defeated Pat Goodwin in the May primary with 54% of the vote. I sat down with both and first asked why they deserve your vote.
Some of the baseline things that I think that are really important is the fact that we balanced the budget back in 2016. We've had 8 straight years of balanced budget, so we're in a really good financial position now. The economic development growth we've seen with new businesses coming to the community, new convention center, new police station, just a variety of investments we've made and private investment has come to the community that's really, we've seen more growth in the last 15 years than we've seen in the last 50.
I'm focused not necessarily on relitigating the past, but moving Terre Haute towards the future. And what does that really mean? Economic development, quality of life, access to education, all of these different fields, when you look at it from a municipal government perspective, you understand that we've got to invest in ourselves here in Terre Haute, in the people, through housing revitalization, sidewalks, streets reimagined, and really growing and modernizing our economy.
I next asked, does experience matter? Bennett has 16 years in office and says things are on a roll and wants to continue the momentum. Challenger Sackbun says experience could also mean status quo and it's time for a change.
You know when the time to go away is, I think. Most people would know that, or the voters can always tell us, every 4 years when it's time for a change. There's no term limits in municipal government in Indiana, and so it's been that way from the beginning, and there's a lot of mayors that served a lot longer than me across the state, and so I don't feel like I've been here too long at all. We're just really ramping up to get great things done because we had to get our finances in order, got through COVID, obviously. There's a lot of things that have happened along the way that now we're positioned really well. Now's the time not for change, but to get these things done and roll these things out. And so that's the only reason why I'm running again, is because it's all the hard work we've put into this. Now it's time to deliver.
I think experience sometimes can be looked at through a different perspective called entrenchment. We've done it this way. We've always done it this way. And that's really the mindset we need to get away from in government and politics. We've got to bring new folks to the table to have a conversation about how can government be more efficient? How can we grow on and improve our systems and processes so that way we maximize the tax dollars that we bring in from the people of Terre Haute? I've got a background in finance, public and private finance, so I always do look at the city budget, the finance side of it, viewing Terre Haute as a balance sheet. How do we grow our revenues, right? Growing that population and limit our expenses. And I think when you look at the last 16 years, a myriad of communities have not just passed us by, but leapt us by.
Next, we get into a common issue around the country, and no doubt here, housing. How can cities develop more housing units with increasing costs and wages not keeping up with inflation?
We've got a housing plan that's just recently been completed. We did an inventory of West Central Indiana, but then drilled down to Vigo County and Terre Haute. We know roughly in the city of Terre Haute, we need, generally speaking, about 2,000 new households. Whether that's single family, it'll be a mix of single family houses, duplexes, multi-unit, whatever that might be. But we need new houses. We need new places for people to live. And so just last week, the City Council approved $5 million to go into the fund to be able to help developers to build these homes. The county committed $5 million. We've got $900,000 left in the ready funds for housing. And so I would expect next spring we're going to see a tremendous push then to get these builders to build houses and then do that over the next few years.
We have some of the oldest housing stock in the state of Indiana. That's not just bad from a physical eye perspective, but now we're talking lead paint in the grass, in the roofs, in the walls. Really, I would look to use a redevelopment housing director to use redevelopment funds and incoming casino funds to create a kind of 1,000 homes in 1,000 days type mindset. How are we rebuilding our vacant lots, our condemned properties, our dilapidated properties? Well, with the rise of construction costs and the massive infrastructure costs to connect to a sewage line, to electricity, again, the basics, government now has to cover some of those costs to make it profitable for our local builders and even out-of-town builders to want to invest in our city.
We have the full interviews with more questions online at WFIUnews.org. Election Day is Tuesday, November 7th.